Service to CEO helps you take it from that solution, that concept, and flush it out and determine, is there a market for it? What are the legal things that you need to know? If you're hiring, if you're entering into contracts, I mean, basically everything you need to know, but we don't just go, hey, here's all the info, have fun.
This week's guest is Stephanie Brown. Stephanie is a military spouse and the founder and CEO of the Rosie Network. She's also the CEO and co-founder of the U.S. Military Spouse Chamber of Commerce. She has been supporting and making a positive impact in the military community for over 20 years. Stephanie and her team have been extremely influential in helping military veterans and military spouse entrepreneurs launch and grow their business. Her organizations offer a lot of resources to the military community. Let's tune in to hear more about Stephanie and her organizations. So what is the Rosie Network and what do you guys do?
Well, Rosie, after Rosie the Riveter, of course, we're a national nonprofit, and we provide the no-cost training, mentorship, support, accountability to our transitioning active duty veterans and military spouses across the country. Our program is called Service to CEO. It's provided in 8 modules. We used to do it in person. We had chapters around the country, and then of course, COVID hit. So we immediately pivoted and started providing our program online, and that just exploded everything. So we literally had military members in there and spouses joining us and participating in the program from as far away as Japan, Belgium, England, Hawaii, Alaska, and wow. I think we are over 40 states now. So, and then it doesn't just stop there. Rosie also has a national alumni program. So once you graduate, do your pitch deck presentation from Service to CEO, then you have the option of joining our national alumni, where we just continue the training and the networking and the opportunities, which we are constantly after to help our veteran and spouse-owned businesses succeed.
That's awesome. So how did you just come up with the idea one day when you were, was it an epiphany, or how'd you come up with the idea to just get this going?
Well, it's really not all that sexy a story, but it boils down to a flooded laundry room, quite frankly. And I was a business owner actually when I met my husband decades ago in DC. In fact, I owned 2 businesses, and when we met and got married and he took command overseas, I basically had to sell them and leave that whole life behind, which always kind of stuck in my teeth or my craws, they say, because I became unemployed and unemployable, really. And that was kind of a tough pill to swallow. But fast forward many years, Tom was deployed at the time, and my laundry room plumbing suffered some serious issues, and I was alone, which all this stuff always happens when our service members are gone. I kid you not. It's like Murphy's sitting up there going, okay, the car's going to break down. Okay, the kid's going to get sick. Okay, the laundry room, plumbing pipe is going to bust. So I went on Angie's List and Craigslist and spent, an inordinate amount of time. And I thought, here I am. I'm out here alone. I've got 2 boys in the house. I really don't want to have a stranger coming into my home. Why can't I find a veteran-owned plumbing company? It makes no sense. So I started doing research and, found out, look, there are over 4 million veteran-owned businesses in the country. The SBA tracks over, I think, 2.4 million, it's 51% and above owned and operated. But I thought, well, how can American consumers like me, who prefer to patronize these businesses, actually locate them? And how can we ensure that we're actually doing business with a veteran or a military spouse? So we have to verify military affiliation. You can't just say. And that was really how Rosies List, again, after Rosie the Riveter, Rosies List was born. The idea was born. And because I found a veteran-owned plumbing company, and they were great, they were awesome. They are my, plumber whenever I need them. Also, my auto mechanic. There is a husband and wife. They're both veterans. Own company here in San Diego and all across the board. So really, Rosie's List after Angie's List, Craigslist, and again, for me, the priority was making it free for consumers to get on there and shop, making it free for these business owners to create a total complete profile page that they own, they control, and then, going a step further, verifying that military affiliation. And Rosie's List went live in 2014, I think, 2012, I can't remember. I'm old. But it is now the largest database of its kind in the country. I will say rosieslist.org is currently under construction. So we are working with a couple of big name folks who are helping us redevelop the whole platform and include e-com. So you'll be able to have a shopping cart and sell your products and services right there from Rosie's List. So my goal has really always been to grab that 70% of American consumers who prefer to patronize a veteran-owned business, and I would argue military spouse as well. So, when I say veteran, I'm talking about the whole package, because the spouse is really the other side of the exact same coin. And it's been an honor. I never expected Rosie to grow to where it is today. I never expected that to happen. I think when we spent about 8 months surveying and talking to these veteran and spouse business owners as we were building out Rosie's List to determine what do you need, what's important, I realized that there was this big gap in training, especially for spouses. So I set out to develop a first of its kind, actually curriculum-based training program, and we worked with Cal State University to do that. It became Service to CEO. I actually recruited the gal from Cal State who helped us develop it, and she now runs it all across the country and overseas. So I never expected that it would evolve into what it is, but that often happens with entrepreneurs, right? If you have an entrepreneur mindset, and goodness knows I do, for good or bad, you see a problem, you see a need, and your mind automatically begins creating a solution. And it's really, Service to CEO helps you take it from that solution, that concept, and flush it out and determine, is there a market for it? What are the legal things that you need to know? If you're hiring, if you're entering into contracts, basically everything you need to know. But we don't just go, hey, here's all the info, have fun. You join a cohort. We keep them small intentionally. So we have cohorts that go all throughout the year. So you get to join a cohort and work alongside other veterans, other military spouses through that program, through that entrepreneurial journey. And we see a lot of amazing collaboration happen, which to me is really kind of the magic. And self-paced programs are fine, but when you do it with fellow military members, something magic happens. Collaboration, support, mentorship. It's been a phenomenal journey.
Absolutely.
I couldn't do it by myself. This is not all Stephanie. I may be, the mouthpiece, but it's really run by veterans and spouses who have a true, complete passion for what we do.
That's awesome. So the cohorts, is that, you said you have different chapters across the country. Are those in-person cohorts, or are they virtual, or a combination, hybrid?
They're still virtual because, COVID and the pandemic, and we're not completely past that yet. And of course, we found that offering it virtual offered us a chance to do it in locations and folks, that would be a lot harder to reach. So we hope certainly that we'll be able to go back to in person. It all began in San Diego. We opened up the very first shared office incubator in San Diego for the military community. And it kind of evolved from there. We opened up our first in-person chapter in Annapolis, and then we went San Antonio and Fort Belvoir and on and in Seattle. So Seattle. So it really began evolving that way in person, which was great. I mean, you just can't replace in person. I mean, and we are determined to be able to get back to that, but we'll also always offer a virtual option. It just
awesome.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with that in-person thing. There's nothing better than being able to see somebody face to face. It's human nature. You just feel good. So if I'm a veteran or a military spouse and I want to get involved, do you guys accept everybody? Is there an application process, or how does that all work?
We accept everybody, and there is an application. You can go on the rosienetwork.org, therosienetwork.org, and just click on programs, or you'll see it's pretty much everywhere. And there is an application. We don't turn you away. We do interview you just to determine where you are in the process and how, kind of go through what our expectations are, answer your questions. We include mandatory mentorship, I think minimum of 4 sessions. So we have an amazing partnership with an organization that helps us provide that mentorship. And you work with your chapter lead. So we have every cohort is run by a paid chapter lead. These are not unpaid volunteers, and they're all veterans, and they're all military spouses, and they're all entrepreneurs or have been in the entrepreneurial journey. And over the years, we've built what I think is one of the most impressive databases, if you will, of subject matter experts from legal, HR, contracting, marketing, you name it, everything that you need, and they help walk you through the process. So it's worth it. I mean, we have a 98% net promoter rating, which I didn't even know what net promoter rating meant until someone said, Stephanie, you realize we have 98, that's insane. So, which means essentially that 98% would highly recommend the program to others. So, and
that's fantastic.
Constantly working to improve it.
That's great to hear. I know you've been doing this for, I think you said 2012 or 2014. What's one of your favorite success stories of somebody going through your program?
Well, it's been 10 years, and this is, in fact, our official 10-year anniversary, which, again, never thought that would happen. There are so many, it is impossible to say favorite. It's just impossible, and it would be grossly unfair. But I mean, one in particular that does stand out is, we had a military spouse who used to clean hotel rooms for a living. That's what she did. She cleaned hotel rooms. Smart, capable, you name it, but she couldn't, like so many other spouses, we struggle with being able to find jobs and careers and et cetera. But through that process, she, realized that, she saw a problem, right? She saw a problem, and she created this solution. And she thought, okay, now I have this solution. What do I do with it, right? What do I do with this solution I've created? And it was really extraordinary. This whole, she made beds. So the sheets would never stay on the mattress, so she developed a brand new set of sheets, like a way to keep them, on, and they're incredibly impressive. But prior to her joining service as CEO and going through the program, she went through a period of homelessness. She was injured on the job. Her husband was active duty. They had, kids, and they were homeless. But she still clung to that idea. And when she went through service to CEO, one of our subject matter experts, we have a marketing company here in San Diego, marketing PR company here, which is just extraordinary. And the CEO would come and speak and mentor, and he was so taken and impressed with her idea, but mostly with her and her passion and her story, that he donated his time, really over $20,000 worth of PR and marketing expertise, helped her develop a logo, a brand, a website, you name it. and she went on to get 2 patents from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. They featured her on the cover of their magazine. I mean, it was just, that is just a tremendous story in my mind of perseverance, which, you know, a lot of military spouses have. We have to have, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah,
have to have.
Absolutely.
But there's just so many. We have spouses that are government contractors. We have spouses that own construction companies. So it is, I mean, it runs the gamut. It's really amazing.
Yeah. I mean, every day you learn something new about somebody in the military community doing some really cool things. And that's a big reason why I started this channel, because you can turn on the TV and see enough negativity to drown yourself in. But I wanted to do this to show the good that people like yourself are doing out there to help others get ahead and do the great things that they're doing. And, you know, having those resources available is a huge thing. So you got a few things going on outside of Rosie too, that I did some research on, and you have a magazine that's part of the organization, but you also have an e-marketplace that you're working with AAFES on. Can you talk about those two a little bit, and, you know, how that works?
Yeah, well, you know, I'll keep the story short about how the magazine came about, but I thought, you know, our community, there are so many of these amazing individuals out there, you know, these stories, and how can we amplify what they're doing, right, in a way that doesn't cost them anything? To buy an ad in a regular magazine, to get featured, I mean, it's rare, but, you know, it's expensive. And I thought we need to develop a magazine, a way to share these stories that our sponsors can pay for, that our corporate sponsors can support. And that's how Military Entrepreneur Magazine, or MEMAG for short, was born. In fact, our latest issue is one of my favorite because it covers our last year we launched Military Kidpreneur Camp. So a summer camp for military kids that have, you know, entrepreneurial aspirations. I think it's probably one of the most fun and favorite things that we have done. We're of course, the response was incredible. We're accepting applications now. There is an age limit, excuse me, but we'll be doing it again this summer. But that issue of the magazine is all about the kids that went through the program and their extraordinary entrepreneurial ideas. It's phenomenal. So MEMAG, I mean, if you have a story, if you own a business or know a veteran or military spouse, business owner that has a, you know, great story, and, you know, you think that they'd like to be featured in MEMAG, then please reach out to us. We love sharing the stories, and it doesn't cost them anything. I mean, that's the big difference. So as far as the marketplace, that I was speaking at an SBA event hosted by the Small Business Administration, and on the webinar was a gentleman who was the general manager of AAFES in Charleston, South Carolina. And he reached out to me and he said, "Hey, Stephanie, I heard you speak and I really like to connect with you." So that sort of, you know, that kind of propelled what ended up becoming the National Diversity Veteran Small Business E-Marketplace. I know that's a mouthful. It's a mouthful. We call it NDVSP for short, and I don't expect anybody to remember that either, but you can go to our website. It's really about supplier diversity. So it is non-contract spend, which, if any of your viewers, you know what that is. It's basically doing business with the government in a non-contract manner, meaning that the limit for the government credit card holder, of which there are, you know, hundreds of thousands out there, and they spend a lot of money. It has to be $10,000 per transaction or less. There's some movement to increase that, which I certainly hope they do, but it's a perfect opportunity to engage small business owners, right? So Amazon, for example, has Amazon Business. About half of the products that they sell on Amazon Business are owned and provided by small business owners. The rest are not. So what makes NDVSB unique is that all of the products provided are all provided by small business owners, and they're all they have to be veterans, military spouses, or women, minority or diverse business owners to be in NDVSB. So, and here's the other thing: NDVSB includes services. So no other platform provides services, and we have. So it's live now. You can join it right now if you have a product or a service. You're a veteran owned or a military spouse owned, and you think your paper clips or your IT service or whatever it is your business does is something that the Army, Air Force, or Exchange would be interested in purchasing, then reach out to us and we will connect you and help you get on there. If you have 2 products or 2,000 products, it doesn't matter. The technology that is in place, and this lives on AAFES. So it lives on AAFES. The technology that was developed allows you to create a catalog of literally thousands of products. So I'm extremely excited about that opportunity, because before it was, hey, I'm a veteran-owned business. I'd love to sell my widget to the Army. How do I do that? It's so hard, and the process can be overwhelming, daunting, that this is the perfect way. And the Air Force and Army have just jumped on board. So they are 1,000% behind it. And the beautiful thing, because, the cherry on top is that we know that all AAFES profits go where? MWR. All AAFES profits are mandated by Congress to go back into morale, welfare, and recreation programs supporting the military community. So that's from building new child care centers, right? Everything that falls under MWR is supported in part by the proceeds, the profits from AAFES. So we're helping business owners, and we're generating profits for MWR programs. Hello? That is what I call a win-win.
Absolutely. And I just ran into a gentleman the other day. I interviewed him for the show too. His name's Steve Cundy, but he started a nonprofit called Task Force Uplift, and they are helping get computers and technology in the hands of veteran children, so that they have the same opportunity and capabilities as everybody else does. So that's amazing. That's another great resource to share.
Oh, that's great. Because, I remember in the very, very early days, Tom was Commodore at the time here in San Diego of Naval Special Warfare. And we were being given a tour of a housing facility in San Diego, off installation. And, we got there and we met with the manager, and it was great and wonderful. And then as we were leaving, I noticed this huge line of people on the sidewalk in the housing, area development, and a huge line of people, moms, dads, kids, etc. And I turned to the manager and I said, wow, what's going on? Is this a party? And I'll never forget, she turned to us and said, no, that's the free bread truck that comes several times a month. So here we had active duty families waiting in line for a food truck. That just really rubbed me the wrong way. And I ended up walking over and introducing myself and talking to this young military spouse who had 2 kids in tow. Her husband was deployed. And we got to talking, and she said, she had a degree. She couldn't find a job, career. Hello, we've all heard that story. But she was determined, and she started her own small business doing, website development, digital media, etc. And she was doing that, as a single mom. And of course, she's in line for the food truck. But she didn't have a laptop. I said, well, what's your greatest need? And she goes, well, I don't even have my own computer. I'm doing this using the computer at the library. Talk about drive, right? And I said, hold on a second. You're running this business as a single mom? Yep, when the kids go to, daycare and school, I'm over at the library running my business. I turned to Tom and I said, we got to fix that. And we ended up getting her a laptop and a printer and, the whole bit. And today she employs, 6, 7 military spouses around the country. I mean, so when you say, sometimes it's just that little hand up, it's just that little bit of help, and then you just watch it go. She did all the work, she just needed a little bit of help. And, I think we can all, even what you're doing, Brian, it makes that happen. We are making that happen, one entrepreneur at a time, or one veteran, one military spouse at a time. So.
No, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's that's a great resource for a lot of different businesses out there, with that e-marketplace. And that's the first I'd ever heard of it, was just going through your website. I think it was 2 days ago, and I'm just like, I got to ask her about this.
Exactly. And when I had an opportunity, I was invited to fly out to Warner Robins Air Force Base in Georgia, and General Holt, who runs the Air Force Small Business Division. That's not the correct term, I know, but I can't recall what it is. But anyway, he was there, and we were invited to present Indy VSB with AAFES alongside Amazon and Grainger, really the 2 mega monolith e-marketplaces that are open to that non-contract, congressionally mandated DoD or really government spend. So, and here we are, we're like this little, startup, but I'll never forget General Holt coming over to us and saying, what you guys are doing is a game changer. It's a game changer. And his team, the AAFES leadership and the involvement with the Army, it's really been a game changer. And I'm excited because I am rolling out, I can't announce all the details yet, but for any veteran, any military spouse out there across the country, has to be CONUS, that, you want to work for yourself. Will be announcing an opportunity that I'm working on right now to create the ability for you to do business with the government from your own home. And so stay tuned. Follow Rosie on Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever, because we'll be announcing it soon. But I'm really excited about it. So, and it's going to be big. It's going to be
awesome.
big. It's going to put money in the pockets and the hands of military families that are interested all across the country.
That's great to hear. So is that you thinking before summer or late summer?
Oh, before summer.
Before summer?
Oh, before summer. Oh, yes.
Awesome.
It is. We are well on the way, and I can't wait. I can't wait to share. So
looking forward to hearing
I'll have
more.
to come back, Brian. I'll have to come back and share.
Hey, we'll have you back. It's
going to be a game changer. As
absolutely.
General Holt says.
Sounds like it. One of the other things, and this is kind of how I ran across your path, was the U.S. Spouse Military, or the Military Spouse Chamber of Commerce. It's a lot to say in one sentence. But
say Mil Spouse Chamber.
Yeah, there you go. That's easy. So, I thought that was very unique. I thought it was an awesome idea. You started it in the middle of the pandemic, it looks like.
Yep.
How did that come about, and how can people get involved, our military spouses get involved?
Yeah, well, being a military spouse myself for a long time, and being a business owner, so entrepreneurship is really in my blood. It is part of my DNA. And I have met a lot of amazing military spouses out there. So really it was couple of things. How can we create a seat at the table for military spouse business owners? How can we create that seat at the table, recognition, open up the door to resources, etc.? And I started working with USAA, a very dear friend over at USAA. He and I sat down. We became part of this working group, years ago, with several Fortune 500 companies. And we were focusing on veteran certification. Who were the bodies out there that were certifying veteran-owned businesses? And he and I said to each other, why isn't there a certification for military spouse-owned businesses? How can we implement the same thing? Because then that makes them legit. Not that they're not legit if they're not certified, but it just adds a level of verification that they're owned and operated by a military spouse or more than one military spouse or a military spouse and a veteran. How can we do that? And so that kind of began the conversation, and Wayne and I from USAA, we went through and compared every other private or third-party government certifying agency out there and developed the back end of it, how we would certify spouse-owned, how we would define a military spouse. And then I happened to meet and a couple of incredible other military spouses. One of them being Maria McConville, her husband's General McConville, he's the Chief of Staff of the Army. And she and I got to talking, and she introduced me to Jamie Chapman, who is she is a force of nature, I tell you what. And something in my head said, wow, now it's time. This, you've done the work, now it's how do you roll it out. So every entrepreneur, most of us, even though I'm not a big fan of the word, it sounds kind of self-bloating, but a visionary, right? You have a vision. What you oftentimes need is somebody to execute that vision. You need somebody that can go, oh, that's a great idea, but this is what we need. These are the 5 things that we got to do. And you're so busy and your head is so much in building out your widget that you're not spending the time necessary to do all these other components. So having somebody that is that, I call it the operator, right? The operations person who comes in and executes on your vision and does it extraordinarily well. And that was Jamie for me. So, and then we were on a task force that Maria McConville and I stood up, and another incredible military spouse, Beth Conlon, who is works at Amazon. So she's like a director at Amazon. She's phenomenal. And she's also an active duty military spouse. And we're on this thing together. And I said one day, it's time. We got to roll out this certification. I've got all the details, it'll be accepted by USAA. I know it. It's industry standard, no joke certification. And we need to, I don't want Rosie to roll it out because Rosie has its role, right? Education, mentorship, resource, training, networking. This certification has to be rolled out for spouses separately. And I think we need to stand up a military spouse chamber of commerce to do it. And Beth said to me, well, Stephanie, it already exists, doesn't it? There's a chain. And I said, no. She goes, we're in. So that was really, sometimes it's just the people that you meet along the way who make things happen. And Jamie and Beth have made it happen. And it's free. So if you're a spouse-owned business or 2 spouses, if you own it 50-50 or whatever percentage, or you own it with your husband or whatever, we can certify your business at no cost to you because our sponsors cover the expense to do that. We have a state-of-the-art database. The whole process to be certified is all online. We do hold an interview to make sure you're a real person, et cetera, and we go through all your documentation. And if you're missing anything, we can help you get it together so you can get certified. We also certify nonprofits. They're not owned by anybody, but it's military spouse-led nonprofit, so nobody else does that. And the companies that have stepped up to support and accept the certification are, Johnson & Johnson, of course, USAA, but we have CVS Health, we have Disney, and it is just growing, all the time. More companies are stepping up and going, oh yeah, we want to do business with military spouse owned enterprises. How can we do that? The Military Spouse Chamber is the way. We certify your business or your nonprofit, and then you get into our database. And so when, that our corporate partners, in fact, Fiserv is a new one, they can go into the database and locate your business.
That's awesome. So is it
I'm telling you, it's a seat at the table, and we are working with MOA, phenomenal organization. I don't know if you know MOA, and then also MSJDN, the Military Spouse Juris Doctorate Network, is a network of over 900 military spouse attorneys. They'll be providing free legal, counseling to our military spouse business owners who need it. So there's just a lot of resources and support and opportunity in being a part of the Military Spouse Chamber of Commerce. You don't have to get certified to join. We have all kinds of discounts in our resource center, so there's savings, and it's free. So why not be join that tribe, and so we can all help lift each other up.
Absolutely. That's a great story. I was just going to ask you, is it a membership-based thing? But it sounds like once you get in touch with you, you're included into the database and you're an honorary member.
Yeah, if you just want, to join the chamber so that you can get access to our discounts, that's great. It's free. Membership is free. I hope you want to join so that you can get involved and grow or launch or get certified, but you don't have to get certified. And again, membership is free and the certification is free. So that's all paid for by our corporate sponsors.
That's awesome. What's the vision of the chamber? Are you planning on opening up like local chapters or regional chapters and stuff like that eventually?
Oh yeah. In fact, we are finalizing the plan right now. We've had spouses from across the country go, hey, how can I get more involved in a local level? So yes, we're working on chapters right now, what that looks like. So we're excited about that. And then how can we engage with, corporate partners or local companies, small, medium, and large in that area to encourage them to do business with our military spouses, right? So we have, from everything from IT, construction, marketing, you name it. It really runs all across the board. So it's a process. I mean, we're barely 1 year old. We're just over 1 year old, and we already have, I don't know what we're at right now, but over 700 members, which is more than over 30% of chambers in the country. So we're growing.
Yeah, and you're kind of young still, and you already got 700.
I know,
That's
but
awesome.
I told Beth and Jamie, I said, the chamber is young, but if you look at the years of experience the three of us have, it's pretty high up there. And we couldn't do it without advocates. We just couldn't do it without advocates from folks, companies like J&J and CVS and USAA and Disney and there are people in those companies that want to see veterans succeed and military spouses succeed. So it really does you can't do it alone. It's a lot harder. It can be a very lonely, frustrating journey if you try to do this stuff by yourself. There's absolutely no reason for our community, for any entrepreneur or existing business owner to do it by themselves. And I just want to say one really important thing. Sometimes people go, oh, I'm not really entrepreneurial, but I definitely, I want to do something and work for myself. Well, I want to be a business owner, but I haven't invented anything, or, I don't have any, coding skills or graphic design skills or anything. All too often, Brian, we overlook the fact that we can purchase an existing business, especially after this pandemic. There is a nonprofit, I sit on the board, that was founded, almost a decade ago by a Vietnam veteran, somebody who I hold in very high esteem. His name is Lynn Lauder. He's a former JAG, so he's a former attorney. He was the COO of Colt Firearms. He was also the the legal counsel for mailboxes, etc. So this guy's got a lot. I mean, he's a decorated combat veteran from Vietnam, and he's a phenomenal guy. And he started a nonprofit called Veteran Business Project, veteranbusinessproject.org. And they help at no cost any veteran out there who wants to sell their existing business or who wants wants to buy an existing business. And when I say help, they've built a database of businesses for sale. And you just contact them and go, hey, I live in Boise and I want to know what businesses are around me, or I really want to get into a restaurant business, or et cetera. And they don't just match you, they provide the analysis of what the business is worth. They provide free legal assistance. They provide mentorship. They provide access to funding. I mean, it's extraordinary. So I had an opportunity to fly out to a small town outside of Chicago, and these two Navy Seabees, right, these women veterans, started, they said, we have no business experience. We know we want to open up a coffee shop. So they helped them find a location in this little tiny town on one little strip main street. And they opened it up. It's called the Corner Beehive. So CB's Corner Beehive. And it's a little restaurant and a coffee shop. And they, Veteran Business Project helped them get funding, helped them with all the legal contracts, helped them with the whole thing, the setup, how to start and how to set up a kitchen, a restaurant kitchen, just the whole bit. And they expected, I think they just finished their first year, they're coming up to finish their first year. And they expected to maybe net or 200,000 in revenue. They are set to exceed over $500,000 in their first year. And their expenses are minuscule, and they love it. Every veteran within, 20, 30 miles comes to the Corner Beehive in this little town. So
that's not far from me, option. So I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's another option. There are businesses for sale out there. Or if you know one for sale and that you want to buy, go to Veteran Business Project. They will literally help walk you through the process and provide what would normally be very expensive, costly services. And you get one-on-one mentorship. I mean, it's another way to business ownership that doesn't require starting from scratch.
Absolutely. Let someone else do the hard work, and you come in and use your revenue or your capital. So both organizations, the Rosie Network and the Milspouse Chamber of Commerce, you have websites for both, but is that typically the best way to get in touch with you guys and learn more about what you do?
Yeah, so milspousechamber.org, milspousechamber.org, and I'm sure, we'll share this.
Yeah, and I'll list it on there.
Perfect. And then therosienetwork.org and veteranbusinessproject.org. Look, we know that veteran-owned businesses hire other veterans at 10 times the rate that civilian employers do, right? So we should all, as consumers, be thinking, how can I support my fellow veteran or spouse-owned business? Right? Mother's Day's coming up.
Yes. Don't forget about
Mother's Day right around the corner. We should be buying, when we say buy American, I say, oh yeah, absolutely. Buy American veteran, buy American military spouse. That, as people in this community, ourselves, we should be thinking about how can we do that every single day. So, and it's a simple thing. I get asked, well, how can I help our veterans? Well, who's your plumber? Who's your auto mechanic? Who's your roofer? Who walks or grooms your dogs? Who's your chiropractor? Who's your orthodontist? Find those veteran-owned. And when Rosies List is launched this year to include that e-com, I expect, my fellow veterans, my fellow military spouses for us at the very minimum to start patronizing from within our community.
Absolutely. And we'll definitely share that too. We'll take over Amazon.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And you know, the AFZ marketplace we were talking about, I mean, you know, you can look it up yourself. The cost to get listed on Amazon Business is a lot higher than, you know, getting the fees associated with, you know, selling a product is a lot higher. So I'm excited about that. You know, I'm excited about everything we're doing. I just, you know, there aren't enough hours in the day, my friend.
Totally.
If you enjoyed this video, you may also like this one here, or you could check out this one right here. Be sure to check out some of the links Stephanie mentioned in the video in the description below. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you in the next video.